Okay, guys. So to examine this concept known as radians, what we're going to do is we are going to look at a circle and we're going to divide it. First of all, we're going to divide it into eighths. So we're going to start right here, and let's say that this is your initial angle right here. So this would be a 0-degree angle, and then we're going to go all the way around the circle, all right? So we're going to divide it into eighths. This is 1/8 around the circle, 2/8 or 1/4, 3/8, 4/8 or 1/2, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8, okay? So if we want to know what those measure in degrees, remember 360 degrees is how many degrees there are in an entire circle. So if we're going 1/8 around the circle, we can just take 360, divide it by 8, and we would get 45 degrees. So this would be 45 degrees around the circle, okay? 2/8 would be basically 1/4 of the circle, or 1/4 of 360. So that would make this 90 degrees. All right? 3/8, we would take 360, multiply it by 3/8, and that would give us 135 degrees. Okay? 4/8 would be 1/2, which would be 1/2 of 360, which is 180 degrees. Okay? Continuing around our circle, so 5/8 is going to be 225 degrees. 6/8, which would be 3/4, is going to be 270 degrees. 7/8 is going to take us to 315 degrees. And then by the time we're back around to a full rotation around our circle, we're at 360 degrees. Okay, well, let's see how this applies to the concept of radians. All right, remember when you're using radians, you're using what's called a unit circle, and what that means is the radius of your circle is 1 unit long. We know the circumference of a circle is 2 pi times the radius. So if I do 2 pi times 1, that would be 2 pi radians in an entire circle, okay? But if I'm only talking about 1/8 of a circle, what distance of the radius would it take to go up 1/8, okay? Well, if there's 2 pi radians in an entire circle, what would I would have to do to find 1/8 of that is just divide it by 8. So it'd be 2 pi over 8, which would be pi over 4. So this would be pi over 4 radians. So 45 degrees is pi over 4 radians. All right? So once we go to 90 degrees, it would be the same concept. You would take the 2 pi and multiply it by 2/8, which is the same as 1/4, or it would simplify to pi over 2 radians. So this would be pi over 2 radians is what that would be over there. Okay? So continuing around the circle, if I want to know how many radians 135 degrees is, remember that's 3/8 around the circle, so I can take the 2 pi, multiply it by 3/8, and that's going to give me 3 pi over 4 once I simplify. It'd be 6 pi over 8, which is 3 pi over 4 radians. Okay? We're going to continue to go around our unit circle. 4/8 is the same as 1/2, so halfway around our circle would be 2 pi divided by 2, so it's just going to be pi radians. Okay? If we continue on around, if I've got 5/8 of a circle, I would take 5/8 times 2 pi, and that's going to give me 5 pi over 4. So that would be 5 pi over 4 radians. Okay? Coming back around at 270 degrees, my radians, I'm going to multiply 2 pi by 6/8, and that's going to simplify to 3 pi over 2. All right? And then 7/8 around my circle. Again, I'm going to do 2 pi by 7/8, and that's going to be 7 pi over 4. And then when I come full circle, I'm just going to take the 2 pi, multiply it by 8 over 8, or 1, And so that's 2 pi radians. So remember, there's 2 pi radians in an entire circle. So that's how you calculate your radians inside of a circle. There we divided it up into eighths, okay? Next, I'm going to look at what happens when you divide it up into twelfths, okay? So if I look at this unit circle right here, I've divided it into twelfths, all right? So if I want to find the degrees of 1/12 of a circle, I just take the 360 divided by 12, and that's going to make this 30 degrees, okay? If I go over here to 2/12, which is 1/6, that's going to make it 60 degrees because 1/6 of 360 is 60 degrees. 3/4 of a circle is going to be 90 degrees. 3/12 of a circle is going to be 90 degrees. 1/4. Okay? 4/12 or 1/3 is going to be 120 degrees. Okay? 5/12 is going to be 150 degrees. 6/12 or half of a circle is 180 degrees. 7/12 is going to be 210 degrees. 8/12 is going to be 240 degrees. 9/12 is going to be 270 degrees. 10/12 is going to be 300 degrees. 11/12 is going to be 330 degrees. And then 12/12 is going to be 360 degrees. And remember, when you start out, you're at 0, okay? So let's talk about how to find this in radians, okay? What a 30-degree angle is in radians. So again, our radius is 1, so we would take the 2 pi and multiply it by the fraction, which is 1/12. So it would be pi over 6 radians. That's how it would simplify. So that would be pi over 6 radians. Okay, likewise, if I go up here to the 60-degree angle and I want to know what it is in radians, I would take the 2 pi times 2/12, which is 1/6. So that would simplify to pi over 3 radians. So that would be pi over 3 radians. All right, coming around again, I've got 90 degrees, which would be 1/4. So it would take the 2 pi times 1/4. 3/12 is the same as 1/4. So that would be pi over 2 radians. Okay, guys? So continuing on, and hopefully you kind of notice a pattern here. Continuing on, if I am at 4/12 of a circle, okay, that's going to be the same as 1/3. 1/3 of 2 pi, so that would be 2 pi over 3. Okay? 5/12 is going to be 5 pi over 6. 6/12 is 1/2, so it's just going to be the pi, 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi. 7/12 is going to be 7 over 6 pi. 240 degrees, or 8/12, is going to be 4 pi over 3. 9/12 is going to be 3 pi over 2. 10/12 is going to be 5 pi over 3. 11/12 is going to be 11 pi over 6. And then finally, 12/12 or 360 degrees is going to be 2 pi radians. Okay, guys? So in the next video, I'm going to show you how this all ties together into what we call unit circle. So we divided it into eighths and found the degree and radian measures, and then we divided it into twelfths and found the degree and radian measures.